Welcome to Ag Schwartz. I'm Galen. With me is my father, Brandon. Today, we're going to talk about hand feeding butcher beef. What's the process? How do you go through it? What typically happens during that time? And what is the time frame in which it's done? Is it 15 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? How long do you do it?
Depends on what you want. I know some people that'll feed their cattle for, according to the butcher, one customer they have is 180 days. Like, wow. I mean, but
That's
they're looking
feedlot.
for
That's feedlot capability right there.
it is. Oh yeah, that's what it is. But they're doing it for their own consumption because that's what they want for their private beef to eat. And it's like, wow, that's you're putting a lot of money into that animal. Plus, um, you're getting a lot of fat. You're getting a lot of waste,
Hmm.
I think, on a piece of meat. You want meat, yes, and you want good taste, yes, but you want meat. You don't want all fat, and you're
Right.
almost you're trying to make it like an Angus critter, like a Wagyu, and you're going to stick a ton of money into them by doing that. So, um, what I have found for most of our customers, and what makes a good bang for your buck, um, is about for steers right around 60 days, a little over 60 days for the hand feeding of our grain finished. Then they get all the grazing, the grass hay they want, and depending on what I'm doing, I'm still playing with it a little bit. I will give them a free choice between alfalfa and grass. I'll feed it both, let them have all they want, um, and let them have a choice on that if it's good feed. And you got to feed them. You got to feed them your premium feed for a finish animal, I think. So doing that, having it available, steers about 60. I think the last one was like 66 days. I went, and then on the heifers, if you butcher them, they tend to get that fat deposited a whole lot easier. And unfortunately, ask any human female; she'll tell you the same thing. It really is. It's a genetic. It's a DNA difference. What are our bodies designed for? What are we trying to do with them? And so the heifers, I did one at 60 days, 62 days, something like that. And she had just a little bit more top fat than she needed, or the outside fat. She was just getting fat instead of the marbling. It was building up on the outside. So I backed that formula for heifers to about 53 days. Now it's supposed to be that's a week less.
Hmm.
It's You're supposed to be at what 57 days is a complete turnover of uh, grass fat to grain fat when you're finishing. So I don't want to go much less than that, so that I get that complete turnover. But these girls, and that's generally on steers. So these girls can probably go just a little bit shorter than that 57 days and be okay, because you can see the fat deposit. You can see that brisket getting big, which has got a lot of fat in it. That I think when you were home, you saw the one I called her Frida the
Hmm.
freeloader. I always give them a name like that. It's just a little way I entertain myself. But um, she was really filling out nicely, had a really nice fat deposits around a tail head and on head of her flank. You could see that fat was sticking out. You could see it, just a lump of fat on either side. Then we got that cold snap, and you could see that fat melt off of her in that, what, 4 or 5 days that it was pretty cold.
Right.
And I was like, oh no, I'm finishing her. And she had to come. Well, I took her to town the 11th of January, and that cold snap was what, the 23rd of December, something like that,
Yep. I think
just
so.
ahead of
Yep.
Christmas. So I just kept doing what I'm doing, and that fat came right back on her. I was really pleasantly surprised. We got some mild weather after that. Stayed in about the 30s and 40s during the day, and yeah, she did great. She still finished out very nicely. She was where she was at before the cold snap, maybe even a little bit more. She had continued to gain. So um, hand feed them. I feed them a particular amount, and I like to feed them twice a day instead of just giving it once. I get all the hay they want, but then I hand feed them about 12 every 12 hours, and it is a pain. I'm not gonna lie, but I think in the end it's well worth it, because people we talk to, they're smiling and saying, "Man, we want another one for next year." So That's always good. Your different cuts of meat are going to taste differently. Your sirloin is not going to taste like a ribeye, but that's just the nature of it. You can't make a whole animal all ribeye. So
Well, that's
good with
it.
the bad.
That's the hand feeding our butcher beef on the Hash Knife Ranch.